The year was 1874, the plains of the Dakota Territory, rolling like an ocean of gold, beneath a sky of searing blue. And Samuel Grady, a weather-worn rancher with more scars than smiles, was riding home from a cattle sale when a shrill cry split the wind. Spurring his horse, he crested a ridge and saw a scene that would burn into his soul forever. Two young, native women barely out of girlhood, running barefoot across the prairie, their long braids streaming behind them, chased by a pair of outlaw traders whose rifles glinted in the sun. Without thinking, Samuel drew his Winchester, fired a warning shot that sent the outlaws skidding to a halt, and thundered down the slope to cut them off, his heart pounding with a fury he hadn't felt since the war. The traders fled rather than face a determined man with a rifle, and the women collapsed in the grass, trembling but proud, their dark eyes locked on his as if trying to measure his spirit. Samuel dismounted slowly, laid his rifle aside, and held up his empty hands in a gesture of peace, learned long ago from a Sioux scout he once called brother. Speaking softly, "You're safe now." One of the women, the taller with a hawk feather in her hair, whispered something in Lakota that he couldn't understand, but her tone was both warning and gratitude. He gestured toward his horse and water canteen, offering them, and after a long moment they accepted, drinking with cupped hands, still watching him warily. As the prairie wind rippled around them, Samuel realized how far from home they must be and how dangerous the next hour could become if the traders returned with reinforcements. So he motioned for them to follow and led them to a dry creek bed where his wagon waited. Every step of the way he felt the weight of history pressing on his shoulders. A white rancher leading two native women to safety in a time of broken treaties and mistrust. Yet something inside him, some flicker of decency, he thought the war had burned out, it told him this was the right road. By nightfall they reached his ranch, a modest spread of cottonwood, windmill, and low barns nestled near a clear stream, and he gave them his own room while he slept in the barn, but not before lighting a fire and cooking beans and cornbread, setting the plates silently on the table and stepping back so they could decide whether to eat. Slowly the taller woman sat, then the younger, eyes darting to the door and back. But hunger overcame suspicion, and soon the smell of food filled the small house. Samuel watched from the doorway, feeling like an intruder in his own kitchen, until the younger one finally spoke in halting English, "Why you help?" And Samuel, surprised at the question's simplicity, answered with equal simplicity, "Because no one else would." And in that moment something shifted. The tension eased, a fragile bridge forming between them. Later, as stars blanketed the sky, Samuel sat by the barn window, listening to the coyotes and wondering what he had dragged into his life, yet unable to shake the image of their terror on the open prairie. He remembered the last words of his old scout friend, "You cannot fix the world, Sam, but you can choose not to be part of its breaking," and realized tonight he had lived those words. Before sleep claimed him, he heard a quiet song from the house, a melody older than the ranch, older than the nation, and it lulled him into a strange, hopeful dream. When dawn broke, he found the women outside, feeding his chickens and muttering to each other, and when he approached, the older one met his gaze and said slowly, "Our mother will come. She will speak," and Samuel felt a shiver because there was something in her tone, a promise, a warning, a destiny, that told him yesterday's rescue was only the beginning. If you're drawn to stories where ordinary lives meet extraordinary choices, where the past collides with the present, stay tuned, because Chapter 2 will reveal what their mother said and how it changed Samuel's life forever. So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and don't miss the next part of this journey.